Sleep is not just about rest. It's a foundational pillar of mental and physical health that influences every single system in your body. In fact, it's the most effective tool we have for brain and body repair, hormone regulation, emotional processing, immune defense, and memory consolidation. If you get sleep right, nearly everything else becomes easier. If you get it wrong, you're starting the day in a state of biological deficit. Let's start with what happens during sleep from a neurobiological perspective. When we sleep, our brain doesn't shut down, it becomes incredibly active. There are stages of sleep, each with distinct functions. Deep, slow wave sleep, which occurs earlier in the night, is crucial for physical recovery and immune function. REM sleep, which typically dominates the later part of the night, is critical for emotional processing and integrating memories. So, if you're consistently cutting your sleep short, even by an hour or two, you're robbing yourself of essential mental and physical functions. A key driver of sleep quality and timing is your circadian rhythm, an internal 24-hour clock controlled by a group of neurons in the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or ASEAN. This clock is synchronized by light exposure. Specifically, light entering the eyes, especially bright, natural sunlight in the morning, signals the ASEAN that it's daytime, which initiates a cascade of biological responses. Cortisol is released in a healthy, natural way, body temperature rises, alertness increases, and your sleep-wake cycle is calibrated. This morning light exposure is one of the most powerful levers you have to anchor your circadian rhythm. To get this right, you want to get outside and view sunlight within the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, without sunglasses and ideally without a window between you and the light. Even if it's cloudy, the intensity of outdoor light is far greater than indoor lighting, and your circadian system depends on that brightness signal to function properly. This single behavior improves your ability to fall asleep later at night, increases dopamine tone, and sets up your brain for optimal mood and focus throughout the day. Another critical point is the timing and type of light exposure later in the day. Just as morning sunlight sets your internal clock, bright artificial light at night, especially from overhead lights and screens, can throw off that same clock. When your eyes detect bright light in the evening, it suppresses the release of melatonin, the hormone that signals your body that it's time to wind down. This means delayed sleep onset, lower sleep quality, and often a disruption in REM sleep. To mitigate this, use dim, warm lighting in the evenings and avoid screens, or at least use blue light filters in the final hours before bed. Beyond light exposure, body temperature plays a key role in sleep initiation. Your body needs to drop in core temperature by about 1 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit to fall asleep and stay asleep. This is why cool rooms are around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit are ideal for sleeping. Interestingly, taking a hot shower or bath 1 to 2 hours before bed can help with this. It may sound counterintuitive, but heating your body's surface causes blood to flow to the skin, which in turn facilitates a greater drop in core temperature once you exit the heat. Let's talk about consistency. The human circadian system thrives on regularity. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time every day, even on weekends, reinforces your sleep architecture. This isn't just good advice. It's backed by robust data. Inconsistent sleep timing has been linked to poor cognitive performance, higher stress, and even metabolic issues like insulin resistance. One night of irregular or insufficient sleep reduces your ability to focus, impairs memory consolidation, and alters the function of your prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. Now, some people try to catch up on sleep by sleeping longer on weekends. While this can help somewhat, it doesn't fully reverse the effects of accumulated sleep debt. It's better to aim for consistent, sufficient sleep every night. The general recommendation for adults is 7 to 9 hours per night, though individual needs can vary slightly. Sleep isn't passive, it's an active biological process that your body requires to function at its best. You cannot replace it with caffeine, willpower, or productivity hacks. If you want to optimize cognitive function, improve your mood, strengthen your immune system, regulate your hormones, and support long-term brain health, then sleep must become a priority, daily, consistently, and strategically. When people ask me what's the single best thing they can do to improve their health, performance, and mood, my answer is almost always the same: fix your sleep. Because once that's dialed in, everything else follows. Focus is one of the most valuable and trainable cognitive abilities we have. In an age of endless digital distraction and fragmented attention, the capacity to concentrate deeply on a task is not just an advantage, it's a necessity. The brain's ability to enter a state of deep, sustained focus allows for meaningful learning, creative problem solving, and efficient execution. But here's the catch: focus is not a fixed trait. It's more like a muscle. It gets stronger with deliberate training and weaker with neglect. From a neuroscience standpoint, focus, or more precisely, selective attention, involves the prefrontal cortex and the neuromodulator acetylcholine. When you concentrate on something, specific neurons are activated, and acetylcholine is released to enhance the signal-to-noise ratio in those circuits. This mechanism helps your brain tune in to relevant stimuli and suppress distractions. The more consistently you engage this mechanism, the more efficiently your brain learns to enter and maintain that focused state. To train this system, you need to engage in what's often referred to as deep work, deliberate, undistracted sessions of cognitive effort. Ideally, these sessions should last anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes and occur when your brain is naturally primed for focus. One way to determine this optimal time is by paying attention to your body temperature. When your body temperature is rising, typically in the first 4 to 6 hours after waking, your alertness and cognitive performance are at their peak. This is the ideal window to schedule your most demanding work. Now, it's important to understand that you can't just flip a switch and drop into a deep focus state, especially if your nervous system is dysregulated. If you're coming out of a distracted, reactive state, like scrolling through social media or answering dozens of emails, your brain is not in a place to focus deeply. You first need to create conditions that support attention. One of the best ways to do this is by eliminating sources of distraction in your environment. That means putting your phone in another room, closing irrelevant tabs on your browser, and setting a clear intention for what you're going to work on. Research also shows that brief periods of visual anchoring or focused breathing before a work session can significantly enhance your ability to concentrate. For example, one technique involves staring at a fixed point for 30 to 60 seconds without moving your eyes. This mimics the kind of visual focus we naturally use when we're in high, alert states and helps to calm internal noise. Alternatively, doing a few rounds of physiological sighs, a pattern of 2 inhales followed by a long exhale, can lower your stress and bring your autonomic nervous system into a more focused, parasympathetic state. It's also important to recognize the value of breaks. The brain naturally works in cycles of heightened and diminished focus, known as ultradian rhythms. After about 90 minutes of intense concentration, your ability to stay focused drops, and continuing to push through leads to diminishing returns. Instead, it's better to take a short break, ideally 5 to 15 minutes, away from screens and mentally demanding tasks. Movement, natural light, or simply stepping outside can help reset your system and prepare you for another session of focus. The ability to focus also depends on how you manage dopamine. Dopamine is often called the motivation molecule, but it also plays a central role in reinforcing attention. When you start a task and make progress, dopamine is released, which not only makes you feel good but also strengthens the circuits associated with that behavior. To leverage this, break your work into smaller chunks and celebrate progress, even internally. This trains your brain to associate focused effort with reward. Another tool is using external timing cues. Many people benefit from techniques like the Pomodoro method, 25 minutes of work followed by a 5-minute break, but these should be adapted based on personal biology. For tasks that require more immersion, a single 90-minute session may be more appropriate. The key is to create consistent containers for deep work, so your brain begins to associate certain times and environments with that state of sustained attention. There's also a longer-term perspective to consider. Just like building physical strength requires progressive overload, building cognitive stamina requires regular practice. If you can only focus for 10 minutes today, that's fine. Start there and work your way up. What matters is that you're deliberately challenging your attentional system, giving it time to recover, and then coming back to it consistently. Finally, remember that multitasking is a myth when it comes to cognitively demanding tasks. Each time you switch tasks, your brain incurs what's known as a switching cost, a measurable delay and reduction in cognitive efficiency. Staying with one task for an extended period not only deepens your understanding, but it also trains your brain to value depth over novelty. In a world where attention is constantly under assault, the ability to do focused work is one of the most important skills you can develop. It's not about working harder, it's about working with intention, using biology to your advantage, and practicing the art of deep focus every single day. Physical movement is one of the most powerful and underutilized tools we have for optimizing brain function, mood, and overall health. Many people still think of exercise only in terms of weight loss or cardiovascular fitness, but the truth is that movement is deeply intertwined with the brain's structure and function. Your body is not just a vehicle to carry your brain around. In fact, the act of moving sends constant feedback to your nervous system, shaping everything from attention and memory to emotional regulation and neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. At the biological level, movement increases blood flow to the brain, which delivers more oxygen and nutrients to neurons. But more importantly, it activates the release of several neurochemicals that are essential for mental health. One of these is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, often called miracle grow for the brain. BDNF supports the survival of existing neurons and encourages the growth of new ones. It's highly active in areas like the hippocampus, which is responsible for learning and memory. Regular movement, especially aerobic exercise, dramatically increases levels of BDNF, enhancing cognitive function over both the short and long term. There's also a strong relationship between physical movement and dopamine, a key neuromodulator involved in motivation, focus, and the experience of pleasure. When you engage in physical activity, particularly forms that involve effort and some intensity, your brain increases dopamine transmission. This not only improves mood in the moment, but also helps build motivation for future activity. It creates a reinforcing loop where the more you move, the more you want to move, and the better you feel. This is critical in overcoming inertia or states of low motivation, which are common in modern sedentary lifestyles. Another important player is serotonin, which regulates mood and contributes to feelings of well-being and calm. Low levels of serotonin are associated with depression and anxiety, but movement, particularly rhythmic, repetitive forms like walking, swimming, or cycling, can elevate serotonin levels in a reliable way. These activities act almost like a natural antidepressant by calming the nervous system and promoting a balanced emotional state, but not all movement has the same neurological effects. It's helpful to break it down into different types, each serving a unique role. For cognitive clarity and emotional balance, Zone 2 cardio, moderate, intensity exercise where you can still hold a conversation, is especially valuable. This kind of training, done for 30 to 60 minutes, 3 to 5 times per week, improves cardiovascular health and stimulates the release of BDNF, serotonin, and endorphins. It also helps lower baseline levels of stress hormones like cortisol over time, which contributes to better emotional regulation and sleep quality. Resistance training, lifting weights, or using bodyweight exercises is equally important, but for slightly different reasons. It not only strengthens muscles and bones, but also enhances hormonal balance, including increasing testosterone and growth hormone, which are vital for maintaining energy, mood, and cognitive sharpness. Studies also show that resistance training improves executive function, especially in older adults, by enhancing connectivity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's center for planning, decision making, and emotional control. Even light movement like walking, stretching, or doing mobility drills has immediate benefits. For example, walking has been shown to increase creativity and problem-solving ability. It activates both hemispheres of the brain and improves communication between them. In fact, some of the best ideas come when people are moving, not sitting at a desk. Walking also reduces activity in the default mode network, the system of brain regions associated with mind, wandering, and self-referential thinking, which is often overactive in anxiety and depression. One of the most overlooked aspects of movement is its role in stress regulation through the autonomic nervous system. Physical activity acts as a controlled form of stress, which trains your system to handle real-life stressors more effectively. After intense exercise, the body experiences a shift toward parasympathetic dominance, the rest and digest mode, which improves recovery, mood, and sleep. People who move regularly have more resilient stress responses. They can return to a calm, focused baseline more quickly after being activated. It's also worth noting that the timing of movement matters. Training earlier in the day, especially in the first 30 to 180 minutes after waking, can have powerful effects on circadian alignment and mental alertness. Early movement boosts cortisol in a healthy way, raises core body temperature, and helps signal to your brain that it's time to be awake and alert. This sets the stage for better focus, energy, and productivity throughout the day. The key takeaway is that physical movement isn't just about your body, it's a primary input to your brain. It drives chemistry, sharpens focus, lifts mood, and improves your capacity for stress. You don't need to train like an athlete, but you do need to move daily with intention. Whether it's walking, lifting, cycling, or simply stretching between work sessions, these activities send a clear message to your brain: stay adaptable, stay alert, stay alive.